Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rome.
And I'm Rebecca Rand.
In our top story, the U.S. State Department has dropped the phrase occupied when referring to Judea and Samaria. Last December, America's ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, instructed the State Department to stop using the term occupied when referring to Israeli territories, and it has apparently adopted the change. In its recent report on human rights violations around the world, the section previously referred to as Israel and the occupied territories has been amended to read Israel, the Golan Heights, the West Bank, and Gaza. This is the first time since 1979 that the word occupied has not been used when referring to Israel's heartland. Jerusalem views the change as a positive development. Israel's Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman said the lie of occupied Palestinian territories is beginning to be revealed. He pointed out that the State Department report is proof that the truth will always prevail.
Moscow has warned that Jerusalem will face catastrophic consequences if it tries to destroy the highly sophisticated missile defense system it is planning to give to Syria. A Russian official recently announced that Moscow is mulling the delivery of the S-300 anti-aircraft missile defense system, which provides long-range protection against enemy aircraft and missiles. The installation of this battery in Syria would inhibit Israel's air superiority in the region, and for that reason, Israel has lobbied Russia against the sale since 2010. Russia agreed until now, but after a series of recent airstrikes caused major damage to Syria's chemical weapons program, Moscow says it is considering supplying the advanced defense system to Damascus in the near future.
Durham, North Carolina has become the first city in the United States to ban cooperation with the Israel police and the IDF. While other states are passing laws opposing boycott, sanctions, and divestment, North Carolina is joining the anti-Israel hate campaign inspired by Arab activists and anti-Semites. A petition presented to the Durham City Council falsely accused the IDF and the Israel police of causing violence and harm to Palestinians. It also accused Israel of training American police to terrorize black and brown communities in the United States. There has been some backlash on the ban. Durham's former police chief actually came to Israel for training. He said that he learned about leadership, combating terrorism, and how to manage mass casualty situations. And he reiterated that none of his training had anything to do with militarization. The Fraternal Order of Police also publicly opposed the ban, saying that it serves to push the anti-police agenda.
In a first, the European Parliament has condemned the Hamas terror group for its use of human shields. The EU passed a resolution denouncing the terror group and demanded that it return Israeli hostages and the bodies of 2 soldiers it has been holding since 2014. The motion, which was passed by an overwhelming majority, accuses Hamas of escalating tensions on the Gaza border and employing the use of human shields. The director of the American Jewish Community's European branch praised the EU for what he called its clear-eyed assessment of Hamas's responsibility for escalating the violent protests. And he said Parliament has taken a principled stand by condemning Hamas's war crimes, such as using its own people as human shields and firing rockets on Israeli cities.
The European Union has approved 2 resolutions aimed at curbing hate speech and incitement to violence in Palestinian textbooks paid for by the EU. Jerusalem has long complained that Arab children are being indoctrinated in schools funded by European taxpayers that use textbooks calling for the destruction of Israel. The EU is now reconsidering the financing of this material and has passed 2 amendments to general reports in its budget. The First Amendment demands that the European Commission ensure that funds are spent in line with UNESCO standards of peace and tolerance in education. The second states that teaching and training programs to the Palestinian Authority that are financed by the European Union should reflect common values such as freedom, tolerance, and non-discrimination within education. This is in stark contrast to current textbooks that ignore the Holocaust, deny the existence of Israel, and encourage Arab children to sacrifice themselves through martyrdom.
The Hamas terrorist organization has vowed to make the Jewish state pay for the death of its top drone, rocket, and explosive expert. Fadi Mohammed al-Batash was gunned down in a drive-by shooting in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia last week. Israeli media reported that al-Batash was deeply involved in Hamas's efforts to improve the accuracy of its rockets and its drones. Hamas is blaming Israel and the Mossad specifically for the murder and is demanding that Malaysian authorities investigate and arrest those responsible. Israel has made no comment on the incident.
Romania is said to be preparing to move its embassy to Jerusalem. According to high-ranking sources in Bucharest, the government is taking steps to advance the relocation of its embassy from Tel Aviv to the Israeli capital. The head of the Social Democrat Party said the decision has been made and procedures for the transfer have started. The Romanian Prime Minister has voiced her support, and so have other members of the ruling party. Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister, Tzipi Hotovely, was in Romania and congratulated the Parliament Speaker on his announcement that Bucharest will commence the process of moving to Jerusalem. The decision must still be approved by the country's president, who has expressed reservations about the move. Nevertheless, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is optimistic, saying that there are at least a half a dozen other countries seriously talking about relocating their diplomatic missions to Jerusalem.
Israel's representative to the United Nations led a delegation of 40 UN ambassadors on a 5-day tour of the Jewish state. 15 of the envoys joined Danny Danon in Poland the previous week for the March of the Living during Holocaust Memorial Day. Then they met up with the rest of the group in the Holy Land, where they celebrated Israel's 70th Independence Day. The group traveled throughout the country, touring Jewish holy sites and visiting Jewish communities on the Gaza border. They were addressed by both the Prime Minister and the President. This is the largest delegation of its kind to visit Israel from the United Nations.
A group of diligent IDF soldiers prevented what security officials are calling a major terror attack on Israel's Independence Day. During a routine search of a vehicle at a checkpoint, soldiers discovered a powerful explosive device. Israel's Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman praised the vigilance and professionalism of the security personnel, which led to the thwarting of a large-scale terror attack on Israel's 70th Independence Day.
Harvard University hosted an event praising Israel for its many contributions to the world. 8 students from several academic departments hosted the university's first ever Israel Summit, focusing on the many positive things that Israel has done. One of the student organizers said that the event was meant to break the endless cycles of negativity surrounding Israel on campus by focusing on the positive narratives. The event, which was designed to celebrate the Israeli culture and spirit, held several forums ranging from Israel and the world economy to Israel's success in tackling global challenges. Israeli President Reuven Rivlin honored 120 IDF soldiers for their distinguished service. On Israeli Independence Day, the president handed out citations and praised the soldiers for their courage. He said it is no secret that during these celebratory moments, IDF soldiers and security forces are on high alert. We are facing Iranian attempts to directly harm the state of Israel. We see the burden of responsibility placed on your young shoulders, and we thank you.
At least 10 people were killed when an assailant driving a van intentionally ran down pedestrians in Toronto, Canada. Israelis expressed their shock and horror and sent condolences to the victims. We at Israel Now News wish the injured a speedy and complete recovery and pray for comfort to those who lost loved ones in this tragic incident.
An Israeli company has created chocolate for diabetics. Ran Hirsch was shocked when his daughter's endocrinologist offered her a piece of chocolate. But when Dr. Mariella Glant explained that she had developed a recipe that lowers glycemic index, Hirsch offered to partner with her, and together they founded A1C Foods. The genius of their recipe is that they do not use sugar substitutes, but rather a patent-pending formula which lowers glycemic index. Hirsch said that by taking apart chocolate, they were able to isolate specific substances and manipulated them to lower the impact they have on blood sugar levels. Hirsch and Glant are working with Israeli chefs to develop low-carb ice creams, pastries, pizzas, and breads, as well as chocolates, and they say that they are interested in developing a line of healthier foods that are low in sugar and high in protein.
Thousands of Israeli citizens and students are volunteering to help create the country's first smart hiking trail. The 70-kilometer Sanhedrin Trail will eventually have GPS capabilities through smart stones, which will line the walking path and provide hikers with historical and archaeological information, as well as explanations about the surrounding nature. Yair Amitzur, an archaeologist with the Israel Antiquities Authority, said there's no other trail in Israel that utilizes such an application. And in this respect, we, the archaeologists, are making history. Our Christian audience might take special interest in the fact that at Kfar Kana, near Nazareth, the 65-kilometer Jesus Trail intersects with the Sanhedrin Trail. So the next time you're hiking in Israel, you will have a full interactive experience available to you, along with 3D visuals and extensive explanations.
Bloomberg magazine has named Israel the world's new dining hotspot and has praised the Jewish state for its culinary achievements. A recent article in the influential magazine says that just like London and New York, Israel is becoming a dining destination. It says that despite the looming threat of Iran and the increased tensions with Syria, Israelis are partying like they're on top of the world. And Bloomberg says there's good reason to celebrate. Tourism to Israel is at an all-time high after last year's 22% increase in visitors. The economy is booming, unemployment is low, and inflation is almost non-existent. The melting pot of cultures has given Israeli chefs the diversity to cross culinary lines and meld cuisines. The article recommends several restaurants in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and encourages diners to visit and eat in the Jewish state. That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein and we're here on a beautiful day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is Noga Kanan. She's the author of Israel, an Island of Success. Noga, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Noga, tell our viewers a little bit about why you wrote the book Israel, an Island of Success.
Well, after 20 years and more within the Israeli economy, I figure that there are conflict between the data that we get from international statistics and the concept or the knowledge of the people both in Israel and outside in the world as to what's happening within Israel, what is the mechanism of its success, and what is the future hold for Israel. So we wrote the book.
The book is hot off the presses. It's selling all over the world now, and it's phenomenal. It basically takes off where Startup Nation left off. Why is Israel such a success? I mean, what makes Israel such a success?
Well, I think that the best explanation for Israel's success is from Genesis, when it said that for no longer your name will be called Jacob, but Israel. For you survived the fight with being divine and human and revealed. And Israel challenged a huge amount of challenges since the dawn of its time, which was 70 years ago, and even before up till today. It is huge challenges like many enemies around, like the desert around, like few people having such a huge immigration and having them being a successful citizens nowadays. And the challenges are still to come, but Israel survived and win them all. This is the secret of the success.
People understand Israel's success, if you look at it from a biblical point of view, as us being a light onto the nations. How has our technologies transformed the world?
Well, I would widen a little bit your question, because we found out that Israel has 4 advantages, and that make the success nowadays. The first one is the globalization. People here are born as citizens of the world, actually. I mean, it will take just few years for a newborn baby to have an international passport because his parents would like to take him abroad on their vacation. And then in high school, this young will go for a journey in the death camp in Poland. After the army, the youngest are going for 6 to 12 months visit to strange cultures to their own, like South America or the Far East. And then after a few years they found themselves making an IPO or working for some American company in Silicon Valley, and or working here for an international companies, and they are very familiar with the world. So this is the first advantage, which is the globalization of the people and the global concept. The second one is the scientific and technology, like mentioned in Startup Nation, and this book is an update for this very important book. The scientific and technology breakthrough making here are due to the arguing mentality of Israelis. Concepts known and well accepted are not necessarily the truth, and we can find a better understanding and a better application. So the scientific and technology is there. This is the second advantage. The third one is the entrepreneurial ecosystem, which allows someone to work for international big R&D company in Tel Aviv or Herzliya or Petah Tikva or wherever, and then leave to create his own startup and mostly fail and go back to another startup or another international company and try again, and his failure count as success by learning. So this is the ecosystem of the entrepreneurial. And the last one, but very important one, is the demographic advantage, where Israel is one of the youngest countries in the world, definitely between among the OECD companies. The fertility rate is higher than all other countries, and we have two groups, big groups of citizens, Arab Israelis and ultra-religious Jews, who are just now entering the academia and the workforce, and we foresee when they will be fully integrated, they will create the next big success of Israel.
Noga, they say, you know, after just celebrating 70 years, that how can this streak go on forever? We were on a winning streak for the last 7 decades. Is it going to be in decline at some point, or is the best yet to come?
We believe, and that's what we found in the book, that the best way is in the future. Israel's success is going to be greater even than it is today, and it's due to these 4 advantages and 3 revolutions in the making. The one revolution is the water revolution. Israel has no problem of water nowadays, which used to be, Israel is in the desert line, and we are the only country that winning the desert. So this is one revolution. The other one is energy. Just in the last few years, a huge amount of gas was found next to the Israeli shores. And the last one, which is the transportation revolution, which is now only start to begin. So in the near future, the combination of these advantages and revolution will create even greater success for Israel.
Now, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
It's difficult to understand Israel from the news. The news are having their own way of thinking, and what we try to do in our book is to explain Israel for everyone. We interviewed more than 100 people in this book, and they are telling stories. We have in the book stories and statistics and explanation, and for everyone who wants to understand Israel, it's a huge and important way to buy the book, read it, and understand what's going on and where are we going for.
Thank you, Noga, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayesod.
Shalom and welcome to the Return to Zion with Keren HaYesod. I'm Eliezer Moody Sandberg, World Chairman of Keren HaYesod, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Aliyah is the secret to the success of the modern State of Israel. Let's take a look at stories of people coming back home to Israel from around the world and see how they helped shape our great nation.
For 2,000 years, through some of the darkest chapters in history, the Jewish people have dreamt of returning home to the land of Israel. During the last century, this dream has become a reality. Millions of Jewish people from every corner of the earth have arrived in the land of their forefathers. They have brought to life Zechariah's prophecy, "I will return to Zion and dwell in Jerusalem." Many have landed on Israel's shores with little more than faith and hope in their hearts. But with the help of Keren HaYesod, they have built happy homes and successful lives. And some of these new arrivals have become the leaders and pioneers building the future of the Jewish state. Sofa Landver was born in Soviet Russia in 1949, just as the Cold War was taking its grip on the world. Any public display of Judaism could prove dangerous. But Landver was determined to reach the Jewish homeland and eventually arrive in Israel in 1979. She has since dedicated herself to public service, becoming a Knesset member in 1996. Landver is currently Minister of Aliyah and Integration, helping Jews across the world make their home in the Jewish state.
בשנת 79 הגעתי לכאן, נסגר מסך הברזל, אני זוכרת מה אני עברתי במדינה שלי. זה לא פשוט לעזוב בית ולהגיע למדינה ולהתחיל את הצעדים הראשונים ולהתקדם יחד עם משפחה, יחד עם חברים, ללמוד שפה. אבל כל בן אדם עובר את זה, ולפחות רק כאן הוא מרגיש זה הבית.
Michael Oren grew up in the freedom of New York, but he too felt the burning desire to return home to Israel, emigrating alone in 1979. Despite having no family in Israel, he fought as a paratrooper during the 1982 Lebanon War. Oren then built a glittering academic career, becoming one of Israel's leading thinkers, commentators, and authors. His prominence led Oren's appointment as Israel's ambassador to the United States in 2009, Israel's most important diplomat. Oren continues to guide Israel's future as a member of parliament today.
Israel is the nation state of the Jewish people. We need to band together to assist those who are the neediest, help absorb those who want to move to the state of Israel, to be repatriated to their ancestral homeland, and the integration process for them will be challenging. And today I'm immensely proud to be part of that continuing epic story of your involvement, of our involvement in making the Zionist dream not just a reality, but a shining reality.
Another Israeli ambassador to return to their country of birth is Belenish Zavadia. Zavadia was rescued from a remote village as a young child, arriving in Israel with no family, facing a strange new life all alone. Having graduated Hebrew University, she embarked on a diplomatic career. Zavadia has served the country across the world and incredibly returned to Ethiopia as Israel's ambassador in 2012.
הייתה לי הרגשה מעורבת. מצד אחד אני עוזבת את המשפחה שלי באתיופיה כי באתי לבד. ובצד שני כל הזמן אבא שלנו והמשפחה שלי, כל הדורות חלמו להגיע לארץ ישראל, למדינת ישראל, והחלום שלי הולך להתגשם. אני מכירה את קרן HaYesod טוב מאוד, את העזרה שלהם, את התמיכה שלהם. הם מפעילים את אולפן הציון. משם למדתי את העברית הבסיסית. עם זה הלכתי לאוניברסיטה, עם זה עד עכשיו, זה מה שמשמש אותי. זה מה שבנה אותי.
From Russia, United States, and Ethiopia, Sofa Landver, Michael Oren, and Belenish Zavadia represent a true ingathering of the exiles, as envisaged in scriptures. Jeremiah's prophecy, "Your children will return to their borders," is happening before our eyes. And with your support, you can ensure that Keren HaYesod helps many more make the journey home to Israel, guaranteeing that the dream of 2,000 years continues.
Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
Israel is the only Western-style democracy and the only largely Caucasian state ever to airlift an entire African population out and bring it home. And not just to bring it home, but to welcome it home, to do its utmost to try to integrate that population and to make them an integral part of the state of Israel. This is the story of the Aliyah of Ethiopian Jews, a story that is heroic, epic, a story of great suffering, of Jews who kept their Jewishness throughout the centuries and then walked across hundreds of miles of desert, ferrying off predators, killers, marauders, in order to reach the land of their ancestors. Israel was able to airlift in two major airlifts, Operation Moses and Solomon, and to bring them home. And since then, Ethiopians here have faced many, many obstacles in integrating and becoming part of a 21st century high-tech society. It has not been easy for them. And the success, frankly, has been mixed. Today, there are Ethiopian Jews who still suffer depredations and still living in underprivileged neighborhoods, but those who have succeeded and are an essential part of our military system, our judicial system. In my own party here in Knesset, we have two members of the community who are proud and active parliamentarians here in the Knesset. So all of this we are very proud of, but we cannot rest on our laurels. We have to continue the story of integrating Ethiopian Jews and making them a fully equal citizens of Israel. In our relations with the world, and particularly with African Americans, our record in airlifting Ethiopian Jews is very important. It's very important that Americans and African Americans come to Israel and see that we are a racially, ethnically, and religiously diverse country that is welcoming and open in a way that perhaps no other state in the world has ever been.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Rebecca Rand, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us next week for all of your Israel updates.